What's going on? Welcome back to another J&A podcast. Today, we've been ready to do this for a little bit, been slacking. I'm back, ready to go. On the other side of the line, we got Mr. JJ. How you doing today, fella?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Just ready to get this interesting topic that you hit me with. And obviously from the title, they're probably going to know what we're doing.
Yeah, but in case you don't know what we're doing, we are giving teams a grade. We are the teachers, and all 32 NFL teams are the students. But today we're doing the AFC, so 16 of those 32 quote-unquote students will be getting grades. And you want to explain your criteria, Aaron, as the teacher.
Okay, so from my criteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so something... Not going to spoil anything. Something I've learned already is don't be surprised with me and JJ's grading techniques. They're very different. I can already.
We already know.
Just from what I've heard, don't be surprised. Like just because they're way off doesn't mean you were necessarily wrong. I mean, in this type of situation, there really isn't a wrong answer unless you just fucked up somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically how you see it. It's from your perspective.
See, so what I'm going off of is like. Your second point in what you sent me is I'm really high on expectations, like what their expectations was.
Yeah, versus reality.
That's what I was really high on grading. I don't know about you. I think you're more like number one thing you sent me, if you know what I'm talking about, that screenshot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really gonna be about expectations most of the time. Now there's a couple of exceptions, I will say this, but most of the time that's why my grades are going to be really different from you most of the time, is because I think anyways it's because of how I expected it and stuff.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Mine's kind of based on 3 different scenarios per se, or 3 different grading scales. So like the first one is expectations versus where they finished, and the second one is like if I expected a team to be bad, I'm not gonna be like too down on them or harsh. Like they're not gonna get. I agree with you on that, though. Yeah, like I'm not gonna give them like a D or an F because they were just terrible. You know, like if. And then the third like kind of aspect, I didn't send it to you in the screenshot, but how they performed on the season, like the eye test. Like if we saw them play, what did they look like? Who like kind of stood out to you?
Yeah. So how are what you told me earlier, you could tell them what order we're doing it in.
We are actually going to be doing it in the NFL draft order. Now when we get to the NFC, it's going to be tricky because the Raiders have 2 NFC teams picks and the Packers have the Saints pick. But we'll address that in the NFC video. Just basically, we're not going to talk about them 3 times. The Raiders, that being. But we'll explain it when we get to that video.
Alright. So just because I have my own stuff pulled up over here on my computer, I'm gonna let you call the team out first, so I don't have to keep on switching back and forth, if you feel what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel you. So the first team based on the drafting order that we're going to be talking about is the New York Jets.
All right, how do we want to go? Who starts? Like me, you, me, you me, or 2-2? Or how do you want to do this?
We can do 2-2. That's okay. That'll be different.
So who wants the first 2?
You know what? I'll let you get it.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, I'll let you start us off.
All right, so this is where we're gonna start off with a bang. For the Jets, I expected them to be bad and all, but this is something that I just had to do because 4-12. You know, I have to also do it about their record, man. Sometimes, you know. So yeah. I'm gonna have to give them a D+. I didn't want to give them a C because they didn't deserve it in my eyes. You know, maybe 6 wins, 7 wins. I could have bumped it up there a little bit, but they didn't quite deserve it. Sam Darnold, he's Sam Darnold. Pick 6 on his first ever throw, right? That's
yikes.
That's pretty embarrassing, honestly. Now I do like their defense a little bit, but I mean, nothing special. I can't sit here and give a team a better grade than what I truly did think they deserve, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I gave them a D+.
All right, so a D+ for the Jets from Aaron. Okay, this is awkward. So I gave.
No, don't do
it. You know where I'm going. Based on my grading criteria, I gave them a C+. And here is why they get a quote-unquote ridiculous grade of C+. I know that.
Respect it. It's like I hope you respect mine.
Yeah, I do. Trust me. I know they were bad, right? I know they were 4-12. I did kind of expect them to win 6 games. Didn't really go that way, which is why they were a little lower. Sam Darnold, of course, was awful, but I like the way he finished the season. No turnovers in December, which, that's a first for him.
And that shows improvement. Which,
absolutely.
Thank you for telling me that, because I didn't even realize that. So now I'm not going to sit here and steal your thunder. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah, no big deal. And even though their backfield was kind of crowded, I like the fact that multiple guys were able to get their shine, where if they were on other teams, they probably are on a practice squad, like Trenton Cannon and many others. And this team, they're pretty bad. I mean, the offensive line is horrible. The defense, I do like certain aspects of their defense. The safety play is really good. And they had 2 Pro Bowlers for special teams as well. But overall, they were just pretty weak. I didn't really factor in any off-season stuff that they did. But in terms of what we got in the season, they were just, not really what you would expect from them.
Mm-hmm. So I respect it. I knew I was going to laugh like you're going to laugh at some of mine because we're going to be totally off. But I see where you're grading. I already see what you're doing with your grading system.
Yeah, basically, I'm trying to be like... I'm like the teacher that gives a free pass here and there, basically.
Alright.
Alright, Aaron, so your next team that you're going first on, it's going to be the Oakland Raiders. This is going to be fun.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. This is gonna let you know what my grade is practically, but I need to give you some backstory to this. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
This was one, not the whole podcast, but this is something I would kind of want. This is like this one team I would want to talk about after the draft because of what they traded away. Like I can't sit there and give them a good grade if I don't know that they're gonna get good players from the draft picks. You feel me?
Yeah, we'll definitely do a post-draft episode on Oakland.
Okay, so I gave them a D-. I didn't want to give them an F, because I'm trying to follow your strategy. but
that's okay.
People are saying you're gonna look at that and you're gonna say, or not a Raider fan because they're gonna agree with me, but from the outside of the league, if it was their own team, they would think otherwise. But they're like, why you give them a D-? They have 3 first-round picks. They have that. They have this. We don't know what they have. They could bust every one of their third first-round picks.
It's very possible.
So that's why I'm gonna have to give them a D-. But I will say this: if I like who they draft, you're gonna see big improvement in that D-. But I can't give them something higher, assuming,
Yeah, I mean that's all hypothetical.
Now this is probably one of the only 32 teams, maybe 2 teams out of the only 32 teams that I will use that excuse for. It's a pre-draft, but I had to with the Raiders because of what they're trying to do, So I'm gonna give them a D-. They have potential, but I got to see who they draft first before I go any higher.
All right, I like it. Like I said, this is all genuine reaction. Like, if we're laughing and we're like, what? Like, this is just how it is,
we're
okay?
Not hating on each other.
Nah, we're just kind of just having fun with it. I gave the Raiders a C-. And I'll go ahead and explain why I gave them a C-. Basically, what you were saying with the 3 first-round picks, I can't really, say what they'll do with it. But the fact that they have that,
Yeah.
I mean,
I understand.
I gotta give him some
you
sort of
wasn't
credit.
trying to go with my philosophy about after the draft. You was trying to think with what they're most likely going to get a good player. Is that what you was going with?
Well, yeah, I just like the fact that they have the picks, but I'll explain why I don't like one of their trades right now. I'll just go ahead and do it. I did not like the Khalil Mack trade because look at what it did to their team. And
oh, look what it did for your division. That's why.
Oh no, it's not even just that. I mean, the Bears were a top 10 defense the year before. It just took them to a whole another level. But if you look at Khalil Mack, and you know, like the Raiders were already like bad the year before, but I didn't like how that situation was handled. But I do understand from this one perspective of if Khalil Mack didn't want to re-sign at all, then you have to get something for him instead of just letting him go for nothing.
Yeah, so I know this. I always do this, but I'm actually interested. Would he have resigned, or would he have left?
I think it would have just depended on how things gone.
Or
you know,
would
some
they
players
have franchise tagged him and made him stay?
Yeah, they could have did to him what the Steelers did to Le'Veon Bell, what the Redskins did to Kirk Cousins.
I think the NFL needs to fix that because there's so many players getting trapped somewhere.
I think they should only be allowed to use one franchise tag on a player.
I like that. Hey, whoa, we're going to use that for another podcast soon. I like that because that's been bugging me for the past year.
Yeah, it's really been bugging me. So this is the first time Bell got franchise tag. But anyway, back on the Raiders. Their first round pick was not good. Okay, Colton Miller was just not good. But we'll save Colton Miller and other first round picks for something else. But I did like the overall depth in their draft class. They drafted P.J. Hall and Maurice Hurst at defensive tackle. They both were able to play immediately. They had a receiver in the 7th round who came on strong, you know, towards the end of the season as well. They suck at getting pressure, which is why they get the minus grade. Ironically, I wonder why they're not getting pressure. And I don't like the linebacker play. The safeties, Carl Joseph started playing better. And they have, like, no run game. I love Marshawn Lynch, but they cannot run the ball effectively.
Hey, Marshawn Lynch is a goat. Don't try him like that.
Hey, he's awesome. But they cannot run the ball worth the crap. And who knows, maybe, you know, not necessarily a first-round pick, but a pick in the draft could address that. But that didn't affect my grade. But they get a C- for performance. I did like the Amari Cooper trade for both sides. I think we talked about that in the video.
Yeah, I mean, you lost Amari Cooper, but he was dropping stuff, and, you know, you wasn't sure if that was your guy for the future. And he was able to snag a first round, which you most likely could find another first rounder. This is going to sound messed up, but you could, like, maybe not in this draft, maybe not in the next draft, just in any, you can find a receiver better than Amari Cooper with a first round pick. Is what I'm getting at.
It's definitely possible, and one that fits. Amari Cooper just didn't seem like a good fit after his rookie year. It just, things weren't working out. And considering how many teams offered a 2nd round pick for him and a 3rd round pick, they got a 1st round pick from Dallas. And even though that pick is in the 20s, who knows, man? Maybe the draft just kind of goes their way.
Whoa. Not even that. Look who some players that fell late, like last draft. Calvin Ridley fell, what, 26, 27?
Yeah, like 25 or 26, 26, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that can easily happen
that could
again
be
because teams
another wide receiver.
Teams don't go for the best player available. They go for their need, which is not always bad, which is not always good, though. And that's why players like Calvin Ridley fell. It's because a team, he was one of the better players on the board, but a team needed an offensive lineman, a team needed a defensive tackle. You get me?
Yeah, you know, teams needed a tight end and all this other stuff.
Team needed a linebacker. Right.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about, like, classes, like the wide receiver class this upcoming season or draft or whatever, like kind of after the combine. But the Raiders get a C-. You know, that I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Alright, and now you get the next two, but like I said, I don't have it pulled up, so will you please say what the next two or what the next team is?
Alright, so the next team that I will start off with is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're getting a C minus. And I'll explain why. I like that, dude. That pick, when I did that team, it took 1 second. I just wrote C minus, and I was like, I'll come back to it. And I was like, based on the grading, yeah, that's as high as I'm willing to go for them. And a lot of it, you know, they were kind of bombarded with injuries, especially on the offensive line. But I know people aren't going to want to hear this, but the defense took a step back. I know they're not going to want to hear it,
Yeah.
but it's true. I mean, your run defense went from top 5 to below league average in the span of a season with virtually the same people. And then Leonard Fournette spent half of the year on a bad hamstring. He just sat out. And you made a trade for Carlos Hyde. He came in and he was ineffective. Some of your free agent pickups, Andrew Norwell was good, but then he missed the rest of the season. Austin Seferian-Jenkins was like a non-factor for them. Dante Moncrief was a non-factor for them. And they just didn't play well. And considering they were in the AFC Championship game last year, and me and Aaron were both pretty high on them, that's why they get a bad grade. In my book, anyway.
You ready?
I am ready.
It's one of the last teams that's trying to get this. But a D minus, fella. Okay.
There we go. I guess D minus is the new C minus, or vice versa.
Yeah. Okay. So, no, I can't even be nice. How you be nice to them? Y'all were supposed to be a championship team again. Y'all were supposed to go 12-4. You made me look stupid.
Oh yeah. By the way, I did like their draft picks. I forgot to mention that. Go ahead.
I mean, I still have to give a D minus, fella. It's like they were supposed to be so good, and they choked. Like that defense made not even a step back, a hella step back, dog. James Harden on that bitch. You feel me? Like
travel agent.
Yeah, dude. Like you can't do that. And for all that stuff that maybe. Just like the Le'Veon Bell, I mean, he might have not been, but it made a stir in the locker room. Jalen Ramsey wanting to say stuff, you know? And I feel like that was a factor, low-key. And, I mean, you can't do that. You know, stay to your team, grind, practice, play. That's, boom, grind, practice, play. Grind, practice, play. That's what you got to do to win championships.
Replace Blake Bortles, play.
Yeah, and replace, yeah. That's fourth. Good job, man. Good job, okay? And that's what you got to do. That's what I gotta say about that.
Yeah, that was a disaster in Jacksonville. The second team that I'm starting off with, before it goes back to you, is the Buffalo Bills. And based on how I've been grading, they're getting a C+. And the reason they're getting a C+ is, I know that the whole quarterback thing was a disaster. Like, they were playing Nathan Peterman, Derek Anderson, Matt Barkley, and their draft pick Josh Allen. But without making any of them seem better than they actually are, they didn't really have a whole lot to work with. Like, the offensive line was bad. LaShawn McCoy was banged up. Their best wide receiver was Isaiah McKenzie, who was released by the Denver Broncos and was 6th on their depth chart. They did have some draft picks that kind of came along late into the season, like Harrison Phillips and Robert Foster and Levi Wallace.
In the league?
Second worst.
Is it too much to ask what the first one is, or no?
At this moment, yeah. I don't think they have the worst roster, because I do like their defense, which that was what factored into their grade getting bumped up for me. Their secondary is really good. They had one of the better pass defenses in the league.
Is it like the Jets secondary? Jamal Adams?
I would say probably slightly better. At least they have like a all-pro caliber corner.
Yeah.
And Tre'Davious White. But Josh Allen, I did like how he played towards the end of the season. They started letting him run more, and he was like racking up those rushing yards as well. and he had some good performances against division rivals, except for New England, obviously. But that's really all I have to say. Is like none of the quarterbacks really had a lot to work with, and the secondary was their brightest spot on the team. So, Aaron, what are you going to be grading the Buffalo Bills?
Alright. Excuse me for saying this, but what was your grade for them again?
I gave them a C+.
JJ? Boom, boom, bro. I got a C- for him, dog.
Okay, not too far off.
Pretty much what you was going with. I really like their defense. Well, their secondary, anyways. I don't like that. I don't like how they got rid of Dominic Sue a couple years ago. That was stupid.
Who? Buffalo?
I'm playing with you. I have to want to. I have to want the podcast.
You're keeping me on my toes. You're trying to see like if I'll catch that or not. It's like Davis with Jimmy Graham.
That was funny. That was that. I'm gonna have to do that all the time now, and I'm gonna do it when you least expect it. But I didn't think he was gonna catch that one. I thought I was gonna let it be able to go by. But
nice.
But,
continue.
Yeah. But Josh Allen, man, he tight end, he out of position. I'm mad next year. Don't worry.
Our greatest joke.
Yeah. Now, the reason I ended up giving them a C- is because I expected them to do worse. This is one of the expected things I was telling you about. I mean, you know, like when you say like the Raiders and how I gave them all bad grades because, you know,
yeah, we
figured they were going to do bad because of we called the dumpster fire in Oakland, you know.
Yes.
But I kind of called the Bills being bad, but I didn't expect them to get 6 wins. So that truly that was what made me, that was what influenced me to give them a C. So good job to the Bills for getting a C from me. It wasn't a plus. I couldn't do that. Maybe next year. I don't know. C- for me though. I mean, good job.
Maybe next year they'll be an A+ because they're in the Super Bowl. No, I'm just playing.
You never know.
Any crazier things have happened. Alright, Aaron, we're going to turn it back over to you to start us off. The first team that you'll be talking about is the team picking 10th overall, the Denver Broncos. What is the grade?
I'm going to have to give them a C-.
Alright.
This is, when I was thinking of this, I was thinking of because they were another 6-10 team, and what truly, this is going to be weird. I don't know if you ever looked at it like this or not on your list, but I saw that I gave the Bills a C- because of that 6-10 and because of what I expected them to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, you know what, Broncos, you get a C- too. I feel like they're going to do a little bit better next year. Would I have traded for Joe Flacco? Probably not. I mean, if it works, it works. You never know, you know?
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
That's gonna be really interesting. I think that was good of me to give him a C-, but you're probably gonna give him like a B+. But it's okay. Let's see what you got, JJ. Let's see what you got.
Wait, are you done? Like,
I'm done. I'm interested to see what you got to say.
And I gave them a B-.
A B-?
Yeah. I almost gave them a C+, but I will be glad to explain why.
JJ, why?
I will be glad to explain my B-. You know, Denver, they were 6-10. I think I had them being exactly 6-10, so that was pretty consistent on Denver's part. I wasn't high on Case Keenum, ended up being sort of right about that. Philip Lindsay kind of came out of nowhere. That's one of the contributors to the B- grade. Bradley Chubb was really good in his rookie season as well. I think he had 12 sacks. Not too sure. Emmanuel Sanders played well before the injury. The offensive line was playing pretty good before injury. The defensive line, they had a couple of good games. A defensive lineman picked off Big Ben, with like 20 seconds to go. And the secondary, until injuries kind of struck them, was looking good. So I gave them the B- strictly off of like performance and expectations and stuff. You know, I was gonna go C plus, but there were games where Case Keenum was like, okay, shades of Minnesota Case Keenum, and then there was games where it was like, okay, well, this is LA Rams Case Keenum, the journeyman, the guy that can never start.
How much money is the Broncos going to waste on quarterbacks?
Well, if they trade for Nick Foles, then, you know, a lot. Alright, and the team picking 11th overall in the draft, the next team you'll talk about is the Cincinnati Bengals. This is going to be interesting.
Right, the mess. Okay. I got them as another C minus.
Okay.
The Bengals, again, you're gonna see this, a 6-10 team. Andy Dalton, didn't he get hurt?
Yeah, he got hurt with 5 or 6 weeks to go.
Yep, and that's a contributor. I just didn't want to mess up. I knew he got hurt, but it wasn't in my head if he was hurt for that long. But that's what I gave him, that because of the other 6-10 team, and because of Joe Mixon. He even got hurt this year, and nobody played up to how I thought they were going to play up to. They started off good like always, played with their minds a little bit, and then they fell down. And you can't do that in the National Football League. If you're going to have a hot start, you got to finish with that hot start, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not missing anything. I don't really like their team, honestly. I mean, I could have gave them a D, but considering injuries and stuff, I gave them a C. I gave them a C minus.
All right, a C minus for a C minus quarterback. Similar to the Broncos, I gave them a B minus, and I'll explain why. Well, they did get off to that hot start, but we both said on a podcast episode, don't buy it. They're going to fall off. And what do you know? We ended up being right again about Cincinnati. And, you know, there were just some players I was really impressed with overall. And they really had a good draft class. And I'll break that down here in a second. But Joe Mixon, you know, was like the AFC's leading rusher. Somehow he didn't make a Pro Bowl. I think that's pretty disgraceful. But, you know, shout out to Joe Mixon. Had a good year. Tyler Boyd kind of stepped up when nobody was really doing well in the passing game. The defense, I do like some of the players on their defense. Carl Lawson, Jordan Willis come to mind. Geno Atkins was okay. And I like some of the players in their secondary. Jesse Bates was a mid-round draft pick who ended up working out. And William Jackson looking solid as a corner. They just had a good draft. They drafted Malik Jefferson, who got playing time when Burfict went down. Sam Hubbard, they were using him as a defensive end and a fullback, which I always think is pretty cool. So they were able to get the most out of their draft picks. And even though Billy Price didn't necessarily work out as their first round pick, they had good depth overall. But I couldn't give them anything too crazy, only because they didn't perform well either.
Yeah.
Alright, so
I agree.
I have to start off with the next two. This is going to be pretty good. So, at 13th overall, the Miami Dolphins will be drafting there, and I can't wait for this. I gave the Miami Dolphins a B.
Fucking
and I'm gonna explain why. Their quarterback play was awful, but to Adam Gase's credit, they won 7 games, and he kind of got the most out of some terrible quarterback play. They didn't really know how to use Kenyon Drake, which was kind of weird, but once he got the ball in his hands more, you saw what he could do. I do like a lot of their rookies, too, that they drafted. Mike Gesicki, Jerome Baker, Minka Fitzpatrick in the secondary. They had a pretty good draft. Xavier Howard finally made a Pro Bowl for them. And I know I always crap on Kiko Alonso and their linebackers in general. They played really well this year. And I'm willing to give them credit for playing a lot better. And another reason why I gave them a B, I said it on a podcast, and I'm going to own up to it now. I said they'd be picking #1 in the draft. And they went 7-9, so respect to them. They get a B.
Alright, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Probably the letter that I have most in my draft is it's going to be a C+. Dolphins went 7-9. I had them doing really bad in this year's draft, and they showed me wrong. They did. They truly showed. I think they showed, like you said, they showed us wrong. Tannehill didn't play horrible. He didn't play good either, but he didn't play horrible. He got him to 7-9, or the team got him to 7-9. And I really never talked bad about the Dolphins linebackers, but they did play very well this year. It's going to be really interesting, man, to see what they go with in the draft, because like they're going to get better, and they're going to get better, and you never know. Maybe in a couple of years you might see the Miami Dolphins up there, you know?
I hope they go like all defense in the draft.
Yeah.
Like just draft defense.
Be nice. So I hope you like the C+. I couldn't give them very close. Hey, that's respect. And I guess if it's okay with you, we'll happy if you want to say anything else you can. If not, we'll go to the
it's not going to affect my grade, but I really hope that they draft defense in this draft. I hope they use their money to get offensive talent, and they draft defense, because they do have a defensive-minded head coach, and I think if he gets guys in there that he likes, who knows? Maybe the Dolphins could be better. And of course, they have all these rumors of they're going to tank to try to draft Tua. I'm not buying it right now, but maybe as the season goes on, it'll be more clear to us. But that's all I really got to say about Miami.
All right.
Now, the next team, this is going to be tons of fun. So the next team that I get to start off with, picking 17th overall, the Cleveland Browns. And they get an A. Like, no question about it, they get an A. Where they were last year was the lowest of lows. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than 0-16. They draft a guy that was compared to Johnny Manziel, Case Keenum, undraftable, grabs his crotch, doesn't celebrate with teammates, and what do you know? He helps lead them to 7-8-1. They won like 5 out of their last 7 games down the stretch. Greg Williams took over as the interim head coach. They don't have him anymore, but I'm not factoring all that in to the great. The team played well. They made the most of their talent, and they had a really good draft as well. Baker Mayfield, obviously, Denzel Ward.
Don't forget about Denzel, my guy.
Yeah, man. Austin Colbert, who was like a guard for them as well when he was able to play. Gerald Avery was nice as well when he had to replace Jamie Collins. So this team gets an A. I mean, out of all non-playoff teams, they're the only team, in my opinion, that deserves it.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is the only team that gets an F. I'm just kidding. They get an A minus, my dog. The Browns, they get an A. Yep. We actually agree with something for once. For them being so, like, we're going to be repeating the same thing practically, but for them being one of the worst team in football to an almost playoff team, that's insane, JJ.
Yeah.
And the thing is they still get to draft this year, and you know they're going to be able to draft, and they're going to hit, and they're most likely.
And they have $78 million in cap space.
Cap space, you know, dude, like, this is going to be really interesting how this goes down. And they signed Kareem Hunt.
Yes.
This is gonna literally. You said everything I need to say about the Cleveland Browns. We agree. They get an A. They get an A.
Similar to what you do with the Bills, I'm gonna just ask you one quick question: can the Browns be a playoff team next year? will we
No
see
doubt.
the Browns in the playoffs?
The Browns will be in the playoffs next year.
I'm with you, man. I have to agree.
Now, just because we said that, they're probably going to go 2-14, but that's not the point.
Yeah, that'll be
One
because
is-
Baker Mayfield got hurt.
I like Baker. All right, let's go.
I do too. All right, let's pick it up a little bit. So, Aaron, the team that you are going to be going first on next will be the Tennessee Titans. Picking 19th overall. What is your grade for Tennessee?
I gave Tennessee a C+. They went 9-7. It's like, I'm not gonna sit here and flex on you like I know so much about this team, which I know about them, but I didn't really follow their season because I didn't expect them to do anything with Marcus Mariota and their roster. I mean, they had one noticeable play the whole year, and that's that 99-yard touchdown run with Derrick Henry. I mean, they were average, and that's why I gave them a C+. I mean, literally, that's why I gave them a C+. Is because, you know, they're, like I said, they're going to be able to draft. They're going to be able to get better. Do we know how much better? No, so I can't go off the future. And you know, I'm trying to be nice, so I'm going to give them a C+. 9-7 is good, and another influencer was another 9-7 team. I gave a C+ to, so I figured I'd be nice, you know.
Well, that was very nice of you, Aaron. I gave the Tennessee Titans a B-, and I thought they would be like a wild card team, like the 6th seed, most likely. Didn't happen. They lost the game that would have determined them being the 6th seed. And I know guys didn't play or whatever, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse for Tennessee anyway. They've just been a team for the past 3 years that either goes to the wild card or they just barely miss it by like a game or something. So Tennessee's kind of been in that conversation for a few years. It's almost like this offense forgot that Derrick Henry could run the football, because like the last 4 or 5 weeks we started seeing him run the football a lot more. They were using Dion Lewis as their primary running back, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like they forgot they had a power back who could run between the tackles. And speaking on the team, Corey Davis, he's been playing better, but obviously he's going to have to shake off those injuries and get better, or else they're going to look at this pick as a bust potentially. The offensive line was solid, but I thought Corey they took
Davis. Come on, fella.
Hey, I mean, I have to be honest. I was high on Corey Davis, but he's going to have to shake off these injuries. He's been playing well, though, towards the end.
Yep.
He's pretty good in Madden, too.
Pretty good.
But, let's see. The offensive line kind of took a step back, in my opinion. They were one of the better units, but I think they can get back to there, you know, barring injury. Even with the injury to Delaney Walker at tight end as well, they were able to get production from Johnny Smith and Luke Stalker. And then the defense, I mean, to me, it's a good overall group on defense. They could use a little bit more juice, a little bit more of a rotation in the pass rushing scene, but they can address that. You know, obviously, they are above league average when it comes to available cap space. And 19th overall, that's solid draft position. So they could get a guy that they like.
All right. Do I do the next one, or do you do the next one?
You do this next one. This is your second one. Okay. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
And that team is going to be
the odd team out from the playoffs.
All right. I gave them a C-. Mainly because of Le'Veon Bell's situation. And they were one game away from making the playoffs. Well, they didn't. That was what affected the grade, you know?
I had to throw that in there.
That's what affected the grade, was the fact that they didn't make it. And you're probably like, what? But that's what I had to go with. I mean, all year, Le'Veon Bell. Y'all got to get that cancer out. Not saying he's cancer, but you got to get it out of your locker room. You can't talk about something all year. You got to train, practice, get rid of Blake Bortles, and then play.
Exactly. Exactly. Every team, get rid of Blake Bortles. Get rid of a guy named Blake on your team.
That's how you do it, man. That's pretty much what I have to.
That's nice.
All the drama, man. Get rid of the drama.
Aaron, this is gonna shock you in a good
What?
way. Me and you, for the first time in this whole grading system, we gave a team the exact same grade of a C minus.
What about the Browns? We didn't do the same thing with the Browns.
Well, you gave them an A minus, but I think you changed it to an A, so yeah, we'll count that.
No, I got you. I got you. No, we'll say this is the first one because we didn't debate on it. You just came out and said it.
But I'm giving the Steelers a C minus for the same reasons you did. I had them as a team. I'm pretty sure I had them going to the Super Bowl in one of my predictions, but they didn't. You know, they missed the playoffs, and the whole talk of the season, it wasn't guys producing, it was Le'Veon Bell. The AB drama kind of came late. That was more of like after the regular season, so I didn't really factor that in. But the whole talk of the season was Le'Veon Bell, and then people are like, "Oh, this James Conner guy, he could replace him." No, he can't. Stop it. Do the eye test. I know the stats look pretty. I know he made a Pro Bowl. Do the eye test. Can you line him up in the slot and throw him 85 passes? No, you can't. He's a power back. Yep. Don't even. Maybe you can give him a screen pass here and there, but he dropped some wide open passes coming out of the backfield. Juju played lights out, but he couldn't save this grade or the franchise. The offensive line was good. Big Ben with his dramatic self. You know, no offense to Big Ben, but he seems to always be involved in the Steelers drama. And the defense didn't really play well either. But just mainly the C minus is expectation based, and the whole story was about Le'Veon. And they didn't do anything to capitalize on Le'Veon's situation.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be their fault they don't have Le'Veon, don't it?
Yep, because they are letting him hit the market. But alright, I got the next two teams. We are in playoff territory, and I'm starting off with the Houston Texans. I gave them a B+. So basically you're going to be hearing higher grades from here on out. But I gave the Texans a B+. Deshaun Watson started out kind of slow, but he had a great end to the season. You know, DeAndre Hopkins being DeAndre Hopkins, you know, he was great for them. Lamar Miller even ran the ball okay. I think he cracked 1,000 yards. Yeah. The offensive line is the Achilles heel. It's like my only real complaint with this team. The defense, they have a lot of star power all throughout. But, you know, they did kind of concern me, especially in the playoffs as well. But, you know, overall, the team gets a B+. They made the playoffs. They won their division when, on paper, before any of the teams started playing, you know, we thought, you know, this could be anyone's division. And then they start out the year like 0-3, and we're like, oh, damn, the Texans are falling off. And then what do you know? They get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's all I really have to say about Houston.
Alright, we're going to be saying the same thing. So I already know we're not really going to talk about this team for a long time. But it's going to be a B- for me. This is why. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. I cannot give them a higher grade until they fix that offensive line, okay? Boom,
Mm-hmm.
right there. Boom, that's it. Offensive line. Literally, that's what they need. Offensive line. Literally.
That was their Achilles heel, basically.
Mm-hmm. You want to hear another secret?
Go for it.
Offensive line. Okay.
Ah, no way, dude. So the next playoff team that I'll start off with next is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm gonna give them a B+ as well. I'm gonna go ahead and say why. They started out 4-5, so they were kind of like a decent team at the most. Like if they were to be on that same pace of just being decent, they probably get a B- and don't make the playoffs. But Joe Flacco had like a mysterious hip injury, It was kind of, it's gonna sound weird, but it was kind of an excuse to get Lamar Jackson on the field, like as a quarterback. He was on the field. I know he wasn't great by any means as like a thrower of the football, but we're gonna give him time to grow. Same thing with all the other quarterbacks that I've trashed on, like Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. You know, these guys are gonna get their time. Yeah, I know, and apparently Lamar Jackson's a running back. Or excuse me, Patrick said he was a wide receiver. But, you know. Anyway, before I start roasting, Lamar Jackson was pretty solid. He did what he had to do. That playoff game was terrible, but it didn't really go towards like my grade of the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe it does towards Lamar Jackson. But overall, I thought this team was really good. They had one of the best defenses in the league. Statistically, like scoring defense, their run defense and pass defense. And the offense, even though at times it's like, who do they even have as their weapons? I mean, they were able to make plays when they needed to. So I have to give them credit as well. And a good draft from Ozzie Newsome. It's his last draft as an executive. And I thought he went out with a bang.
Alright, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
B+.
Alright, same grade. There we go.
I did not expect them to do this to make the playoffs. Is pretty much why I gave them a B+. Like I said, I knew I pissed people off when I said this, but literally the game against the Falcons, he missed 4 to 5 wide open passes, and they could have beat us by 20 points, and instead they only beat us by a little. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wasn't high on Lamar Jackson. Still not that high on Lamar personally. I'm sorry. I need to see him throw the football. I know he got better at the end of the season, but I need him to work on it during the offseason. I need him to grind it. You know, he's an NFL quarterback now, not a college quarterback. And I need him, you know, keep the legs. You good job, fella. You got really good legs. You have potential to be really good. Just work on that arm, hit them throws, and I'm gonna like you. I had to give him a B+. That defense is awesome. I really like that defense. They send blitzes at you. You don't even know what's going down but you know what I'm saying. And I like it, so I had to give them a B+.
Yeah, absolutely. They were really good. Obviously, that's why they made the playoffs. Let me go ahead and give you the two teams you'll be starting off with. The first one,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one you'll be starting off with is the Indianapolis Colts.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
I already have it. B+.
B+. All right.
Almost was an A. I wanted to give him an A-. Heck, I kind of want to, but I'm not going to. B+. Literally, that's how much I like the Colts. I didn't expect them to do that well, but I like their roster, if you feel what I'm saying. Like, I knew they could be a good team, but they didn't know they could be a good team. You feel me? Like, that's what I was thinking at the beginning of the season. That's why I was high on them, and they showed me wrong. Andrew Luck came out there dotting up, you know, made some stupid interceptions sometimes, but he worked on it. They made it past the wild card game. They smacked the Houston Texans. I mean, they did really good. I'm proud of them, and I'm really excited to see the Colts next year with Le'Veon Bell.
If it happens, let's see. The Colts have a lot of money. They better use it.
It's going to be interesting.
Absolutely. You gave them a B+. I gave them an A. Just a flat out A.
Yeah. I wanted to give them that, honestly.
They exceeded my expectations, which is why they get the A. Andrew Luck, I never questioned the talent of Andrew Luck. I questioned whether, like, how good he'll be coming off of 2 years of having surgery and being on the couch. And he answered it by being top 3 in the MVP discussion and being the winner of the Comeback Player of the Year award. And getting this team to the playoffs. So he absolutely balled out. But outside of Andrew Luck, Marlon Mack played well down the stretch. He wasn't consistent at running back, but he played well in like the last 5 or 6 games. T.Y. continues to add his name to this discussion of really good receivers in this league. And the offensive line, you want to talk about, I know, but common fans are like, who?
Yeah, okay. My bad.
But you want to talk about change for the offensive line? It's night and day. The Colts last year, or the Colts 2 seasons ago, compared to the Colts this past season.
All they got was one player.
No, they didn't. But it's okay.
He's playing.
They drafted Quentin Nelson, of course, and then in the second round they double dipped, and they went Braden Smith, who was brought in as a right guard, ended up playing right tackle. They got Matt Slauson from your opinion. Matt Slauson, didn't he play with like some neck injury or something? Yeah, he's so trash for playing for that.
Yeah, dude, honestly, he probably should have retired.
I think he did retire, actually.
At halftime?
No, like at the end of the season.
That's tragic.
Yeah, the offensive line.
Their offensive line's gonna be trash again next year.
Way improved from the year before. The defense, I mean, Darius Leonard, your defensive rookie of the year, led the NFL in tackles. Had a lot of tackles for losses. Had 7 sacks and a 4-3 defense. And the secondary is kind of their Achilles heel. I hope they address it in the draft and in free agency. I think they will. But they don't need to settle for less. You have all the money in the world to be the biggest spenders. And I hope they use it. What's up?
Obviously, it's not going to happen, but can I assume something real quick?
Alright, hypothetically speaking, go ahead.
Just imagine they snag Earl Thomas and Le'Veon Bell.
They have the money to do that and have like 60, 70 million left over.
That's crazy, dog.
And they can trade for Antonio Brown and still have 50 million left.
JJ, they could be a god team.
Well, someone needs to hit up their GM. They have to re-sign Eric Ebron too. He balled out this past season.
Just say it from an average fan, okay? I'm act like I'm an average fan.
Okay.
What made them have so much money?
They didn't spend a whole lot of money, and they drafted well over the past couple of seasons.
Alright, let's get it.
Alright, so the next team that you will be leading us with is the Los Angeles Chargers. What grade did you give them?
The LA Chargers, dog?
Yeah, man.
I gave them a B+. The reason I gave them a B+ would have been an A something, either way, but they wanted to decide they want to lose to the Patriots in the playoffs and they had a better roster. So guess what? Demoted, and you have a B+. I like their roster. I think they have the best roster in the league, and that's in my eyes. Obviously, you have not even no more. The Rams are busted up now. They're all their players are gone. Nobody's talking about the fall of the Rams, but it's okay. Y'all talk about it next year. I like it. B+. You know, you got Phillip Rivers. Man, this is a really good team, JJ. They could have easily beat the Patriots, but they just got outplayed, outcoached. So that's why I gave them a B+, because I know they were better than what they did.
I gave them an A-, similar to why you gave them a B+, if that makes sense.
Yeah, probably because they lost to the Patriots, right?
Yeah, they're like the only team, not the only team, but they're one of like 2 teams, I think, in this range that I couldn't give like a flat-out A or A+ to because of the way they lost, which comes down to the eye test, the third aspect of my grading. Phillip Rivers, I feel bad for him, dude. Can he just get traded to a team so they can win a Super Bowl? Because the Chargers are like cursed. Like, just trade him to the Patriots. Let him like start for 1 game. Like something. I really feel bad for Phillip Rivers. Melvin Gordon didn't have like, well, compared to last year, didn't have the greatest of years, but he was still really good. He was one of those guys that didn't show up in that playoff game either.
You know who? Whoa. I'm sorry to cut you off, but just because you said that, you kind of made me think of something. You know who I feel bad for?
Go
Larry
ahead.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah, that guy.
I
Yeah.
feel bad for Larry. I truly do. He deserves a Super Bowl.
Well, he should get traded to the Patriots
Too.
for a conditional seventh round pick.
Everybody that wants a championship, go to the Patriots.
I mean, they're not gonna like pay their free agents. They'll just take guys off the street and from other teams.
I bet Bruce Irvin is so mad. He had the Patriots paid him wanted to pay him more money to go to the Patriots. That he wanted to play in his own, and he wanted to play with Atlanta, and he could have a Super Bowl ring. Have that. What do you think? You think that haunts him at night?
Maybe, depending on his morals as a player. Like, does he value that more? Because obviously, in his free agency, he chose against it.
Yeah.
But the other reason why the Chargers get an A minus, I mean, that defense, this is one of the better rosters in the league. Best one, I'm 50-50 with. I'd have to like take another look at all the teams. But they have a lot of nice young talent. I want to say their cap space, it's below league average, but it's decent. Like, decent enough to, like, make some couple of decent moves. I love Keenan Allen. Proved it again this year. And, man, things could have been different if Hunter Henry didn't go down so early. I know he came back in that Patriots game, but leading up to that point, things could have been different. Maybe they have a bye week instead of the 5th seed. The story that never was. But the next two AFC teams are the teams that were in the championship game.
Alright. So the Chiefs and the Patriots. Is that the final two?
Yes.
Alright, well, who gets them? You or me?
You went first, so that means I have to go next.
Okay.
Alrighty, so the Chiefs, they get an A. Just a flat out A. I wanted to give them an A minus, but they were huge overachievers in my eyes because I thought they possibly could be a playoff team, but I was higher on the Chargers. And Patrick Mahomes, if you are one of those people that claim you saw this coming, you're lying. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, yeah, you're lying if you thought Patrick Mahomes is gonna put up those numbers. There's no way. Like, I don't even think some Chiefs fans saw it coming. They lost Kareem Hunt. They can still run the football. I mean, they'd love to have him, trust me, but they still were able to run the football with Damian Williams. He had 3 touchdowns in a game against the Colts. In the first half, they played terrible against New England. You know, it's just too little too late for them, though, towards the end. But overall, throughout the season, their offense was pretty damn impressive. And I said it twice on air, but Patrick Mahomes, the first quarterback since Peyton Manning, 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. I mean, that is impressive. Can he do it again? I don't know. I'm not one to say yes or no. I just want to see it. But this Chiefs team, obviously their biggest downfall was that defense. And maybe if they had one, they're in the Super Bowl. I don't know.
You never know. But I feel like the Rams would have beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, hands down.
Yeah, I think that'd have been an ideal matchup for them too.
No, I think that the Rams could have beat the Patriots, but they just got outcoached. That's what that was. They were a better roster.
Yep. What did you give the Chiefs?
My bad, fella. I was letting my dog out. Alright, so I gave the Chiefs a minus. I gave them an A minus. It's pretty much what you said. Like, I didn't expect them to make the championship game. I didn't expect Patrick Mahomes to do what he did. I didn't expect anything. If they would have made the Super Bowl, obviously you know you deserve it. Probably you deserve an A plus if you make the Super Bowl. Or if you win it, more likely. But if you they didn't. They fell to the Patriots. And that's the reason I had to give them an A minus. I couldn't give them a B. You made it to the championship game. Good job. Will they fall out next year? Yeah, I'm sorry to say it, fellas, but they will. Don't expect the same thing next year. But it's all good. I gave him an A-.
All right.